We haven't sorted out where
Don't
you're going
worry
to
about it.
be.
You're live now. Just, you're live. Careful what you say.
Yeah, but can everybody see you?
Everybody can see all three of us.
Right. Okay. That's because. Good evening and good afternoon, everybody. I don't know where the chat is or anything on this.
See the see the row of boxes underneath? The one on the far left is just you on your own. Click that. They don't want to see us. They want to see you.
Say that again.
Underneath the big screen, the black screen,
Yeah.
there are a row of boxes. There you go.
All
That's
right.
you on your
Okay. And then if I
now,
do that one, that brings you on.
yeah. Now do it back and say hello to everyone because they're watching you.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. I have to apologise for the lateness. It's been so long since I've actually done a live. I had nothing technical on my computer because I had to reinstall Windows a couple of months ago. So we're now streaming through StreamYard. And I have no idea what this interface entails, but these the lads, Mark Beckett, and I'll just introduce you to my earworms, which is Pete Twisted Trees and
Hi,
Mark
everyone.
Beckett, RPT.
Everybody,
Don't forget the RPT.
oh, shut up.
Yeah, you got to take my
So
Beckett twice because it says repeat.
It's like teaching a toddler to scramble eggs.
it certainly is. Yeah. And I'm not sure if this is going to work or if it's not going to work. I have no idea how I can see how many people are in, so I've got to rely on
We'll tell
my
you.
earworms to let
We'll
me
do
know.
that.
Most probably nobody in at the moment.
There's loads in actually.
so, so yeah, I mean, the problem is my normal format is I welcome everybody in, but I can't see who's actually in, so I can't do that. So I'll have to rely on one of my earworms to do that job for me.
We'll do that. Don't you
Um,
worry.
I will do one thing that I'm known for. I'm going to have a quick vape on camera. It's disgusting, isn't it?
That's
Actually,
terrible.
while they're talking, I'm
You
going to
got
fill it
40
out.
people watching anyway at the moment, mate. So
I'm amazed. Thank you, everybody. That's really nice to know. 40 people on an impromptu pop-up live. You can see the chat, lads, I assume.
yep.
Yep.
Oh, good. There's no way I can see it then.
Yeah, you can open YouTube, mute
Oh
it,
no.
Oh no, no,
but
Pete.
let's not do that.
let's not let's not confuse the lad. uh, for those of you that are watching, I just have to give a big thank you to Pete and obviously Mark because he's a professional turnist. You've got to thank him. No, on a serious note, Pete has spent the last 3/4 of an hour, and as Mark said, it's like trying to teach a toddler to scramble eggs. Um, yeah, okay. So
So what you
I
can
can.
do, Mike,
What's that, mate?
on the right-hand side of your StreamYard window,
Mm,
you've got private chat and comments.
yes.
Click
Click
on
on
comments.
comments, and that's a slightly delayed version of what everyone says on
It is
YouTube.
it
Hang
is
on.
the
Oh,
YouTube comments, but it's a little bit behind on time.
that's okay. Hang on a minute.
Over on
Where
the
am I
right hand
looking?
side. Over on the right
What
hand side, it says comments and private chat.
does it? Oh yes, it says comments. Yes, and
Click on
private chat.
comments. Click
Click
on
on
comments.
comments. Yeah. Oh,
Private chat is where we
hello.
send you insults that are just between the three of us.
Yeah,
Comments is
and
YouTube.
we're just
All
about
right.
to start
Okay.
doing that now.
Actually, I must say one thing. I think I'm quite impressed with StreamYard. I don't know why I didn't use it before.
Well, we know why it didn't
um,
use before because it only goes out in 720. It doesn't go out in
ah,
1080p.
right. Not
But
1080.
No,
most people are
just
watching on
720.
devices anyway, so they won't notice the difference.
Mm,
Put
mhm.
us back in the background.
And I can say hello to everybody. Right. Okay.
Yes.
So I can, with my glasses on, I'll start at the top and it might be a bit delayed. Malcolm, Douglas, good afternoon and welcome. Roy's the boy, Jennifer's Crafting Creations, and Colin from Wood Wizardry. Todd at Glen Cove, hello, how are you? I'm really impressed and humbled that you lot have turned up actually on such short notice. And Susie, Swiss Wood Turner. Hi, Susie, how are you? Hope you're all well. Hodgepodge, hello to you. Um, and Kingspore Abrasives. Susie, KI. Anyway, hello to you as well. I must admit, I have to say I'm a little bit out of this at the moment. Well, quite a lot out of it, actually. Don't know what I'm doing, but there we go. No change there. I think that covers... Oh, Pete. Hello, Pete. Twisted Trees. Chris Dodds. Hello to you, Chris. Welcome. I hope it's worth you tuning in. Let's have a look. Roy's the boy. I think I said hello to you. Well, hello, Roy. And Fide Coast Wood Turning Simon. Hello, mate.
He's pressed the wrong button, hasn't he?
He pressed the wrong button.
He's pressed the wrong button. Oh, then there's no way of contacting him.
Right.
So, Pete, what are you going to be turning for everybody today?
Finials, apparently.
Oh, Mike. Tell him in the chat, Pete, in the group chat. Go back into the studio.
Yeah. Well,
Hello, everybody. How are we all? Do hope you're all well. We're looking forward to Doug Miller's live tonight.
we're looking forward to Mike's live this afternoon, but
Hello, I'm back again. As I was going, as I was going through the chat, my mouse escaped and I cut myself off. Anyway, I got to Joseph King, I think. Hi, Joseph. Welcome to you. DP. Oh, hang on, it's gone haywire again. Anyway, I think rather than bore everybody, Niantic River Woodworks, hello to you and welcome. Sarah, the Titchy Turner. Hello, Sarah, and welcome to you, of course. And I think I've covered Underwood Dude. Hello, mate. How are you? And welcome to you. I think I've covered nearly everybody. Anyway, I think it's suffice to say, welcome to everybody. Oh, Paul Hoyden, hello there, and welcome to you. Welcome to everybody. And I think I've said that before. I'm going to put the lads back in. This is new technology for me. Oh, the lads you can see
yeah.
the lads. That's okay. I
We're
think
on
I'm
screen,
going to
mate.
make this full screen.
I've set myself up just in case I've got to take this live over because Mike's going to press the wrong button again.
No, I'm not going to touch any buttons now. All I can see is all I can see on my screen is the three of us at the moment.
Right. So get rid of us and get over to your lathe.
Right. Yeah. Okay, lads and lasses, we're going to start. Right. This is me. We'll start on the overhead. As I say, it's an impromptu live and it's about finials because I do quite often get asked about finials. There's no mystique in it. It, like everything else in wood turning, it depends totally on practice. And the good thing about finials is they're good fun, good tool control, which I'll display because I haven't done many for quite a while. It's good practice. Let's come back to my face just for a second. And the other thing is that any bit of scrap you can turn into a potential blank for a finial. It could be pine, it could be anything. There's no restriction on what you can actually use. So I enjoy doing them, and you can make faux ebony out of them, you can spray them, and so on and so forth. So what I'll do, the lads will keep an eye on the chat. What I will do is any questions you have, whether it's related to this particular impromptu demo or anything else, just ask the lads and I'll be more than happy, or they will be happy to answer you. We want to keep it going, so if things pop up in your head, then just make a comment and we'll answer it.
While you're waiting for you to start, Mike, Benjamin's got a question.
Hi, Ben.
He says, I've not seen you do a live now in what, 3 months, which is weird because why do you look 3 years older?
Well, do I or don't? Do I look 3 years older or don't I look 3 years? Oh, 3 years older. Yes, indeed.
3 years, yeah.
Well, it's just one of these things, you know. It's I think it's the stress. This morning I decided, I thought, let's have a live because I've got a few days off and I had a quick chat to the lads, and from the start of it, it went
pear-shaped.
It went boobies up. Let's put that.
Yeah,
way.
He's forgotten to shovel the coal into the boiler for his computer. So.
Yeah. and I do enjoy them. So it's a bit of a personal thing, if you like. Okay, so one more drag on the old vape, and what I'm going to do is go through my method of doing it and the various tools that you could use. You actually, I suppose, in one way, apart from a parting tool, you don't even need that. You could do the whole thing with the skew. Um, my preference, because I'm more at home with the spindle gouges, I'll do some of it with a skew, and I'll attempt to do what I call the onion, and I hate that thing, inverted commas, the onion, with the skew. But I feel much more confident and happy doing it with the spindle gouge. Pete and Terry, and indeed Brian and Mark can use the skew to that event, but I just feel happier doing the other bits with the spindle gouge. But we'll have a go.
I'll be
And I've
honest, I
got
usually do it to the
loads,
quickest. So
yeah,
sometimes the spindle
I've
gauge
got
is quicker.
loads and
So
loads of blanks, so it doesn't matter how many we get through or get rid of. That's the beauty of doing finials. Okay, so I'm going to put my safety specs on and go to the overhead. I don't know if the overhead or we want that one. What do you reckon?
That's a better one. That's better.
Right, okay. So you can see overhead and
Yeah.
doodah. Now I've got all my skews are baby skews. For the faint-hearted, I do prefer a radius skew. That's just me personally. That is personal. I've got the lathe set at around 2000 RPM. And the reason for that is that's for a spindle of this size, that's what I like to do. Now, if you start to rough this square down, just nice and gently with the skew.
Rubbing the bevel the whole way.
Now, like with anything else, you want to keep the meat at this end. So this concentrates. We've got a bit of center. I've got the live center up just for a bit of support at this stage, so I could be quite heavy with my cuts. And don't forget, you've got your live center in there. You're going to have a hole in the end. And don't do what I've done on some occasions. I've boldly gone on, got rid of the live center, and end up with a finial with a hole in the top, which is a bit awkward. So already at this
Stephen Madden's
stage,
in, the wood dude. Wood dude.
hi Stephen. Right, what we'll do is get rid of that, and I will move that, so I can put my little tool stand there. That's great.
Mr. G's
Okay.
wood doing is in, and Doug Miller's in.
Good afternoon and welcome. I just got to increase my.
you now have 56 people watching you, Mike.
Well, that is amazing.
But
Welcome
I'm
all.
not impressed because only 11 of them put a thumbs up. So
All
Chris
right.
Walters has joined.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
He says, "How are you, Mike, my friend? I just popped on
I'm
here
very
for a
well.
minute or two."
That's okay. That should be enough to get you adequately bored. Okay, so we've got no support now. You can hear that resonance. That's because I'm pushing hard on it. And there's no support at the end. Now I come to a point where there is a tiny hole there. So let's just get rid of that. Okay, so we've got it at that stage. We've got the end done. That's a bit sharp. It's not very practical to have that because if you actually do a finial on top of a piece, it's got to hurt them. Okay, so now it's up to you completely what you want to do now. So what I like to do is just do a little dink on the end, like so. So that just gives a little bit of character. And then again, using the skew.
Les is in. He says, "Hi, Mark, Mike, and Pete. Nice to see you all." He sat in his motorhome in a lay-by between Bideford and Barnstaple with a cup of tea. How are you, my friend?
Too. So now all we're doing is basically letting our imaginations run wild. Now, this might look nice, or it might not. It doesn't matter if it doesn't, because you could just take the end off and start again. That's fine. I mean, this blank is quite long. As we say, what we're trying to do is just get a bit of practice with the tools. And like with most things, I really don't pre-plan shape or anything. I remember the last video I did, I really had no idea, can't remember what it was I did know, how it was going to end up. But that is always not a good thing. You should have some idea, but it sort of progresses as you're turning. It does with me anyway. That's why I could never be a production turner.
Ben's asking if you can zoom the overhead camera a bit.
If I can what?
Zoom in the overhead camera a bit. Bring it a bit closer.
Yeah, I
in
was.
The picture in picture.
Let's just have that. How's that? No.
Okay.
Hang on a minute.
Do a couple of cuts at that and see how it goes.
What, with this?
Yeah.
I don't think that's close enough, is it?
Not really.
No.
Just go with the side one. That's it.
Hang on. I got to alter something there as well. Bear with me a second. We're a bit low on. That's too much. No, let's just think. If I go in there. No.
There you go. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me just try this one more time. If I go on to that, bear with me a second, peoples.
You always do, Mike.
Yeah, I know. Let's go to the overhead. Let's just see if I can get it. How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
Right,
Buster West has just referred to you as UK's answer to Cindy Droster.
I was going to mention Cindy actually, because she is the, as I always say, the goddess of
Queen of
fine finials. But take. Hang on. Be happy in the knowledge, and I always think of this when I'm doing a finial. Cindy sometimes spends an hour to 2 hours to finesse her finials by sanding. So it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. It's nice to do it off the tool.
That's not the hard bit. She spends 2 hours beforehand doing maths to figure out exactly how the finial
should look. Indeed. Yeah. All I'm doing now is just get rid of the corners with a skew. Just do a peeling cut. And before we go a little bit further, just move the tool rest slightly so we don't fall off the end. The peeling cut with the skew is a very effective way of rounding stock. Basically, all you're doing is just riding the bevel and feeding it in. That's good enough because it's all going to go. So, yeah.
Rob from Klingspor says he's not heard of Cindy, but he likes her already. 2 hours of sanding works for him.
You've never heard of Cindy Droster? You haven't lived.
She's an experience.
Oh, she is. Absolutely.
She's definitely an experience, yeah.
No. Sorry, Pete. What I'm doing now is deciding we're not going to do an extremely long one. We're going to just get the basic shape of what I would term a normal finial, if you like. Now, you saw that flexing. This is the time where, if this is going to be a finished piece, what you do is sand. Now, you want to sand as you're working your way down. Now you got to, if it depends what you want to sand to. I start with 240. I don't go any higher than that with a finial because it's not necessary. Turn the speed down ever so slightly and just refine those end bits. Now, if you're, whatever your preference of sanding, if you want to do it from this way, put the same pressure with a thumb or an other digit just to counteract any pressure you're using to do your sanding. Now this is, for me, it's a bit like masking tape. It requires a deft touch, and deft touch is not something I'm known for, would you believe?
Mike Stevens asking, have you ever turned any metal finials?
No.
And if so, have you got any tips?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry, that's the only answer. I'm a boring old bugger, and that's the only answer I can give you. No, I haven't.
On a wood lathe, you can do brass, aluminium.
Yes,
pewter.
I have turned copper, brass on the lathe, but not into a finial. I've turned it. I can't remember what I did now, but yeah, it turns nicely.
Miss T's in. Hello, Miss T.
Hello,
Hiya.
Miss T. How are you?
We've also
Hope you're
got
well.
Lewis and Dr. Bob have joined us as well.
Lewis.
Yeah,
Lewis
Klondike
the
Craftsman.
Klondike Craftsman.
Yeah, I'm not saying hello to Lewis. No.
No, don't do that.
Hi, Lewis. How are you, mate? Hope you're well.
Hey, Mikey's a granddad now.
Oh, many, many congratulations. I'm a granddad quite a few times. Only 2 I know of. The others, you know.
Shush.
What I'm doing now, I'm using my 1/2 inch skew, and that's what I really like to use on this. I mean, you can use the big one. It's just psychological, I think. Now, what I'm doing now, I prefer these round rests for doing finials, and it's nice. I'm just going through for the newer turner. Don't laugh. I'm just going through what I do. You can hook your fingers under there nice and easily just to give that bit of support. And like with the sanding, it just gives a sort of an opposite. You're going to be pushing ever so slightly and you're just nullifying that so you can get a nice cut. So, but I do like the 1/2 inch skew for that. It's just something I'm used to.
Yeah, all you're looking to do really is take any vibration out so that you don't get
Exactly.
chatter marks on the timber.
Yeah. And because of my delicate fingers, I prefer to. Now, if you want to go a bit longer here, for example, you can do it this way, or you can just use a peeling cut again in stages. Okay. Now, I personally wouldn't go any further than that without sanding again because you've got to have flexing. So you can then bring this down to how you want it. Forget this bit here. We'll work on that in a minute. Just try and blend it in. Okay. I am always what they call a feeler. I've always felt the stuff that I do, and sometimes that can get you into trouble. So I don't advocate it, but I do it without thinking. And sometimes you get the odd splinter, you get the odd paper cut, especially when you're doing something like a burr or a burl for our friends in the States, if there are any watching.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
It's not good. Okay, so the trusty 240 again. And just, I won't do what I normally do because that wouldn't be right on YouTube. I normally use the tool rest as a hole, but we won't do that.
No.
Again, whatever way I do it, I'm just counteracting any pressure on the other side.
Dewey Shed's asking, have you tried the new carnival colours from Martin yet?
Well, me,
Dewey, he doesn't know.
me.
He doesn't know who he's asking, does he?
Yeah, I mean, I know of them. I should say to you, what are these carnival colours you speak of, Dewey?
Mike
Yes,
still has
no.
the intrinsic colours in the original box with the lid still on them. So
I have, yeah. And I did do it. I'll tell you what, lads and lasses, because it's alive. I did do a bit of colour a couple of weeks ago I got the old spray brush. What's the name brush? I don't even name of it. Look, you see, look,
Airbrush.
colour. Look, hang on, where is it? There, look.
No,
Oh,
down
another long one.
towards
Not in
you.
There
the
we are.
camera.
Yeah,
There you go.
look, see, colour. Look, blended colour.
Sort of.
And I got very fed up after a while, so I just left it. Okay, so a bit like a goblet, long stem goblet, I always advocate you sand as you go when you get to the stem, especially if you're doing a long stem. So I quite like that shape there, where it sort of comes in a little bit and out. And if it was going to be a really long one, that would be elongated, because I quite like that sort of slight concaveness to the design of the finial. Okay, so we'll go on a bit further. I can use the biggie skew now. Don't know why, just because it'd go a bit quicker. So I've just got to peel and turn the speed up a bit.
Larry Nixon said, after 3 years of turning, I'll have to think about using a skew. A skew's got a very bad rep, but
It has. It's a great
every
tool.
skew that they sell, they build in 500 catches. So in
Yeah,
factory put
you get
500
those for
catches
free.
into the skew.
Yeah.
So when you use a skew, just count the number of catches you get. When you get to 501, you're good from there on.
Yeah, a skew will always, it'll catch you out. I'm not a skew, not master, that's a silly word. I am not as adept with the skew as I am with other tools. But believe it or believe it not, I quite often will spend a couple of hours hacking away with the skew. And the thing is, when you do something like I'm going to attempt to do the onion bit, the bottom, the bit of a bulge at the bottom of the finial, I'm okay to a point. But always remember, when you're using a skew, as long as you're, and when I say pushing, I don't mean pushing. As long as you're applying pressure forward, you're not going to get a catch. Treat it exactly the same as a spindle gouge. That's the theory. Okay, in practice, it does not always work, and I will possibly show you that today. But as long as you've got forward pressure or forward, slight pressure forward, you're doing the same as you would with a gouge, because as soon as you let off that pressure with a gouge, it's going to stop cutting and you could get a catch. You've just got to keep on applying contact with the wood, with the bevel and the edge. The other thing, which is very important, as it is with all turning, is always keep your tools sharp. Okay, because apart from being dangerous, it doesn't make for a very good experience, and especially when you're doing something like this. Okay, back to the overhead. So as I say, bringing it down slightly in steps, that's not necessary, but it gives me an idea. If I was making it, what I tend to do is make a load of finials. I'll just have a finial day and I enjoy doing it. And we'll come to the tenon at the end, what I do with the tenon. But it's the shape, and you might not be making this for a specific piece, but when you've made a piece and you want to put a finial on it, you might have one in your stock, which is always nice. So now all I'm doing is bringing the stock down. And the reason I'm not peeling to this level, is I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Now at this stage, I don't need any under pressure, because I'm just letting the weight of the skew do the cutting. And as soon as I get that bit of resonance, if the mic is picking it up, I know I'm pushing too hard. So just let the weight of the tool, put it on the piece, and we'll try something out here. Look, I'm not going to use my turn the lathe off because we're on camera. Okay. No, I'm not going to use my fingers as I normally would. Let's just see. And if it breaks, it doesn't matter, does it? We start another one. You can hear the difference? There's nothing there. You can hear that, Pete, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you hear that? And do you see that slightly moving?
Doctor with our box said, "Good afternoon. Did the top of that goblet fly off already?"
Can't hear you at the moment. You said something. So I've got to that level. There's a bit of a bulge there. I don't know if the camera picks that up. So what
Yeah.
I want to do from here to there is obviously got to be blended in. Now, could I do it without supporting? Possibly, but why not? You know, why do it when all you've got to do is put your finger behind, and I'll go to my 1/2 inch skew because I prefer it. So there is where you want to start to blend it in. So just light cuts, pick up the cut, follow it down, and don't forget you could, as I will demonstrate later on, maybe on another finial, I don't know, that needs sorting. I'll do it now, just in case everybody goes. You can actually, now this is where the refining comes in, yeah? You can refine with your 240. You can get the exact shape you want.
Mike,
Now bearing in mind
no
you're using
rest.
240, you can use your abrasive to blend that in. And if you keep it running and you just run your fingers, you'll feel where there's lumps. And there's a lump there, which will be slight. So, and I'm actually supporting the piece with that finger, okay, as well. And just putting a bit of pressure downwards. Now that's pretty good. There's no lumps and bumps in that. That's nice and straight. Not so straight. It's nice and smooth all the way down to there. So instead of getting it exact with your tools, you can just refine it a bit with your abrasive. I don't know if it's showing it very well there, actually. That might have to.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
it's
we're
quite.
getting it.
Yeah,
You can see it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now it's a case of how long is your finial? Okay. So again, we can use the skew. And I'm just going to bring that down a bit. It's the onion bit that gets me always with the skew, as I'll show you now. So that obviously needs blending. So literally lift the handle. I'm lifting the handle and going in nice and smoothly. Now that again can be refined with your with your 240. Now that little lump there. Just
Dr. Bob said this
blend
is
that
not the
in.
time to sneeze.
No,
I have quite a
indeed
number
not.
of skew pieces where I've sneezed halfway down the
Yeah.
cut. Yeah, it just go
So
wrong quite quickly.
we want to sort of go round and under. Okay. So if I start here, and then you need to get rid of some here. And a little bit there as well.
Glenn McKelvey's come in. Hello, Glenn.
Okay, so again, this is not, oh, look how clever I am. I'm just trying to show, I just there have just got a little round over, okay? Now, I don't want to get any smaller there because I personally feel you want to keep that there for a bit of meat to give you some stability. So now what I've done is the wrong way around. I've actually got a curve there, which I'm not too displeased with, but I haven't done this. So I shall now blend that into there. Now, normally, if I can show you, this is my 30, is it my 30 degree? No, that's my 30 degree. That's a 30 degree spindle gouge. Okay. Now, with that, we've got a bit of meat here that I can actually demonstrate what I'm trying to say. Let's put the speed up a bit now. 2000 RPM, 23, 22, yeah, that's fine. Now, I can get rid of some waste. Now, if I wanted to replicate, or not replicate that, if I wanted to go over there, I feel much happier with my spindle gouge, lifting the handle, keeping the bevel in contact, and going under. Now, that is easy to me because I'm happy with that. Now, to get that with the skew, for me personally, is not easy, but there's no argument about it. You can still get a damn good finish with your spindle gouge. That is a nice smooth finish there. The beauty of the skew, it's not just the kudos. The beauty of the skew is it undoubtedly leaves a superb finish when you get a good cut. But I will argue to a point that a spindle gouge will leave you virtually the same if you keep it sharp and you get a good cut. Okay.
Corey was
Interesting.
asking,
Sorry.
what grind
Right,
angles do you use on your skews?
I use an angle which Pete and Mark don't. I think Pete and Mark and most people use 15 degrees. I use, I can't remember, 20, I think it is. Yeah, 20 degrees.
I'm same as you, mate. I use 20.
All right, okay. Well, I'll start
15's
using 25 then.
15's too fast for me.
I use
Yeah,
15 on mine.
Yeah, Pete uses 15 on his. I tried 15 and I got more catches. Having said that, I didn't try 15 on my radius skews, but all my skews have got a slight radius on them, as I've explained before. The reason for that is personally, forget the fact that kudos and all the rest of it, I used a radius skew from, I would say, 10, maybe a year or two, a year and a half of going into wood turning, starting wood turning. And I was watching Alan Lacer and other people like that in the States, and they were doing this. And I thought, right, okay, I'm going to do me skew. And I surprisingly found it more user friendly. Let's put it that way. I don't think it has any drawbacks compared to the straight skew. None at all. You can do your V's, you can do your coves, you can do anything that you can do with a radius. You can do with a radius skew. You can do with whatever you can do with a standard straight over skew, you can do the same with a radius skew. I always keep about a fifth, maybe a little bit less than that, of a straight edge on the
toe point.
On the toe. As a straight, it's straight to about there. And that allows me to do a sort of a right angle peeling cut, if you like, if I'm doing tenons and so on. And then it starts to radius from there down. Now, it's not a huge radius, it's just a radius, but I just personally find it a little bit more forgiving and I'm a little bit more confident, well, a lot more confident with it. To the stage, this actually is Hamlet, and I bought that off Ed Oliver, Oliver's Wood Turning, about a year, maybe longer ago, to do a comparison video on radius and that. I did the video, I think, and it just stayed there. So I thought, no, I'll put a radius on it. It's just a personal thing. It's there's no right or wrong. Whatever works for you, as we always say, is the right way, isn't it? So, and the other thing, using a skew, if you don't want to go back to your sharpening system, whatever it may be, if you sharpen freehand, that's fine. You can always use a credit card just to hone. All you do, I don't know, this is 300 grit, it could be 180. All you do is the bevel and circular strokes, and that will refresh the edge, which means you don't have to go back to the grinder every time. This is a James Barry credit card home. I've had it for years. I've got a couple of other things, and you can do anything with your negative rate scrapers, your gouges, everything. You can always refresh the edge by honing. You don't always have to go back to your grinder. Okay. Any questions, lads?
Nope. Doing good.
We're good at the moment.
Good. Dare I ask, out of interest, how many people are still
Four.
awake? Oh, it's
No.
4. Brilliant. There's none. No people left. Well, hello, nobody.
There's 69 watching at the moment.
Oh, brilliant. That's great. Okay, as I say, if you do have any questions, please ask in the chat, and I or the lads will be more than happy to. I'm just wondering what'll work
Dan
now.
from
The
True
two.
Grit Finishes has popped in.
No.
Hello, Dan.
Hello, Dan. How are you, mate?
And
Nice
Wayne
to
the
see
Woodturner
you.
is here. Hello, Wayne.
Hello, hello,
Dan, hi
Wayne.
Wayne.
Hello, Wayne. Hi, Wayne. How are you, mate? Thanks for popping in.
I'm trying to
Okay,
be overly
so
enthusiastic because Mike says I'm never am.
yeah, it didn't work. Okay, so we now need to blend that in. Now, as I say, I find this easier with the spindle gouge. So if this goes wrong, it goes wrong, and I'm not really bothered. Now, do you see that resonance there? That is the reason for keeping the pressure on the other side of the finial as you do in your refining. A bit of a bump there. And now we've got a ridge there, so this has got to come in a bit. Now, if I use my spindle gouge, you see how much more confident I am using that. But for the sake of... So let's try and follow that round with the skew. So get yourself positioned at the end of the cut as you would with a gouge. Pick up the cut and keep pushing slightly forward. There we go. Did that with the skew. Am I clever? But I mean, it's more often than not, it won't go to plan. Now, at this stage, that to me looks more like a fishing float than a finial. It's not blended in properly. I've got the basics. I've got the undercut here I'm quite happy with, and I could do some fiddling around with this area later on. But I want to blend that in. Now, what you have to do is visualize how that's going to be. Now, this is the bit that sometimes I get right first time, more often than not I don't. So all I'm doing here is trying to make it more visually appealing. That's not too bad. Starting to get a nice curve. Still a bit blocky, but it's getting there. So
Get in there. Over in South London then.
and don't forget, if you're using the skew, when you get to a 90-degree bit, it's not going to cut. It's not going to catch. You can. I'm not going to do it now because I'm not brave. But now that needs more undercutting. So again, start at the center, pick up the cut, lift the handle, and turn. Now, if I use my spindle gouge, that's getting more like what I want. And let's just say that's as far as we want to go with the tools. Now, you can, and I'm not going to spend all day doing it because you'll get more bored than you already are, but you can literally do, let's just say, well, you would, that bit there needs to come in a bit further there. You can just spend a couple of minutes with your 240, bearing in mind not too much pressure, to do your final shaping. I'll let you into a little secret. I normally sit down when I do this because of my back. Well, you can sit down and do your sanding, and you can spend as long as you like to get it exactly as you want it. No, it's not. That's not a perfect shape, but it's something like. So now we've got to talk about. Sorry, what was that, Mr.
I say it's getting
RPC?
there.
It's getting there. Yes, I quite agree.
Yeah.
But you see, what it needs here, it needs to. I don't know actually. It don't look too bad. Not too bad.
If there are any new returners watching this, then
Don't
the
do
closer
this.
you get to that chuck, the more stable the piece becomes. So the more adventurous
Yes,
you can get.
indeed. But here, like with the no, here I can feel the camera possibly won't pick it up. There's a little bulge there. Well, that would be taken care of with the 240. Yeah. But cutting wise, once you've gone to sort of this area, you really can't go back because look, I mean, there is absolutely no support there. You might be able to do a little bit. Why do I do
Don't.
these things?
No,
Right,
because you're
look.
going to break it.
Hey, yeah, but does it
You're going to
matter?
break it.
Does it matter? So we've got a little bulge there.
George K has got a good question. He says how to avoid bending from moisture, especially in the summer with hot temperatures.
Sorry, say that again, Pete.
How do you avoid your finials bending from moisture in hot temperatures?
Um,
I've not found that a problem myself, but there again,
I haven't. We don't get that off. We don't get the humidity. I mean, we do occasionally, but I mean, I turn finials. To me, if my wood is around 10 to 8 to 10%, for me in my environment, in my damp workshop, it's dry to turn. Yeah. Whereas other people will find it's 4% or 3% if they're in a drier, less humid,
I
damp
think
environment. I
the
got a
don't
few
biggest
in
thing
find
the
to
it.
do
chat
is
from hot places like Wardy's in Arizona and a
Mm,
couple of others.
totally.
the biggest thing is to make sure the wood that you're using for the finial is as dry as it can be
Mhm.
for the area that you live in.
Yeah,
That's the secret.
agreed. I mean, no one's arguing. If you're turning it in our climate, if you're turning it in the winter in your workshop and you've done your turning and you place it on your piece and you take it in the house, it could go like that. Of course, it could,
Yeah.
because it's going to absorb more wood, as you all know. Whether you seal it or not is a living. It's not living, but it is a breathing substrate, if you like, and it will take on moisture and shed moisture. Maybe only slight amounts, but with something like a finial, you don't want a lot to make it
No.
change shape. But I
If
honestly have never had a problem.
Jimmy Clues turned a finial and one of us three bought it
Mm,
and brought it over here to us, it would
mm,
move.
mm.
Because where he's turned it is a dry
Yep,
Arizona heat. As soon as
exactly.
it comes to a moist country, it's going to be like a sponge,
Yeah,
pick up some moisture, and it's going to move.
it's like boxes. If you do a box with a pop fitting lid and you send it to somewhere which is a lot drier or a lot wetter and more humid than
Yeah.
where it was turned, the lid's going to stick because there's got to be movement. So, and that's a little tip somebody gave me. When you turn a box, whatever the lid fitting you're doing, whether it's a pop fit or a nice, just a nice firm fit, leave it in the workshop. Don't take it straight into the house. Put it in, I don't know, the shed, or then put it into an outside lobby or something, and gradually change the temperature till it's going to be in its final resting place, as it were, and that will minimize the movement in the wood. It won't be a shock to the wood. Ooh, you know, we've got to expand or we've got to contract, whatever.
I think Ben's got the right answer. He said, have you tried a more dense wood like African blackwood?
Yes, with the denser wood,
use
even
these dense exotic timbers, because you're using such a small amount of it, then use them for finials.
Yeah, if you've got, I've got virtually nothing left of African blackwood, and what I tend to do is make faux finials, ebonize them, or put ebonizing. I mean, that's a knob, if you like, and that has just been sprayed with a gloss, ebonizing gloss from Happy
You
Sheen,
colourist,
actually.
you.
Yeah, that's the colouring I do, and that's another finial, which is the same, and I think that's something like pine or something. I just do a load of them, and the reason I don't take them off, if I'm not using it for a specific project, is that I can make the whole make the tenon to fit the piece I'm doing, if you like, because unlike Pete, I've got a 10mm spanner, which I have for the majority of my tenons on finials, and that is a 10mm hole in the lid or wherever, and it slots in nicely. Pete's got a 6mm one, which makes sense, but if I'm doing a smaller one, I just use a set of calipers, because I tend to go for the 10mm. So we'll do that in a minute. And there are, of course, some woods, this is not very well prepared, which don't want to be ebonized. I'm not quite sure what wood that is, but it's got lovely markings on it. So that is something that wouldn't be ebonized. And that little knobby one there is a nice bit of something. No idea what it is, but it's a nice colour, if you like, on its own. So yes, I do colour black.
Miss T is in the chat and came up with the perfect name for what I like to turn a lot of, and it's a finial. It's a cross between a finial and a knob, and I find those so appropriate to so many things.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as like, when does a bowl become a hollow form? Am I doing a vase or am I doing an open form? It's debatable, as you say. When does a finial or when does a knob become a finial? Is it because it's longer? No, not necessarily. Is it the shape? Yes, it could be. But a knob tends to be something which is fairly round or maybe cut off at an angle at the top, and it's just to lift the lid off something or whatever. So it's whatever you want to do. Finials are just good fun. And sometimes you'll get a design and you try and replicate it, you can't, because you've been lucky doing that little bit of character on one piece of the stem. Okay, so we'll go back to that now. So it's not sanded. What I would do, and I don't want to waste your time doing that, I would sand that for quite a while to get it exactly as I wanted it. And I'm happy doing that because Cindy Droser does that. So if it's good enough for Cindy, it's good enough for me.
Mark can always do another one exactly the same because he's got repeat after his name.
Oh yes, of course, yes. He's a repeat professional turner, isn't he? Right. Okay. So the next thing is what sort of bits and bobs do you want underneath? Well, I mean, let's just go on the simples now, and just using the spindle. Good idea. Put my glasses on, safety, so I can see what I'm doing as well as protect my eyes.
I thought you were going to leave that flare on there then.
So basically, this is a goblet base, and as most of you know, is that I prefer concave goblet base. No, stop there. Oh, that could be something.
Yeah,
so we can have a fiddle. We can have a fiddle. So I'm happy with the shape of the base of the finial. It's approximately in proportion to the height, etc., etc. Now this little bit here, I stop the lathe, I don't know if the camera will pick that up really well. This little bit here, let me just try something a minute.
No, it's not better.
Hang on a minute. No, hang on. We haven't. Right.
There you can see it.
This little thing here, which I would carry that on up to the base of the finial itself. Can I make something out of that? Well, I can fiddle with it and see, and if I don't like it, I can carry on with the gradient up to the bottom. I just had an idea.
I've just got a flare.
Yeah, that's the one. See, I'm not a professional turner.
So that would be called a stem into a flare, flare into a cove, cove into an onion, onion into a stem,
Now,
stem
the
to a
problem,
point.
the problem I've got now is I've got that there. Do I like it? Don't know, not particularly. Don't particularly dislike it. It's a no. I'll ask my peers. To me, that's a little bit blocky underneath. It needs to go under a bit more. So, do I take the chance with that sort of not a lot of support and just bring that in slightly?
I'd be tempted to use a skew in there just to do like a V
Yeah, you
cut
would
on
be.
the
You're
onion.
exactly the same.
Yeah, I would
Skew
be
would
as
give
well.
you a more finesse there.
Yeah,
It'll give you a
but
more
that
crisp
is
point as well.
not too bad. So now I can go to the skew, and
You want to go overhead, mate? We
right.
can't really see what the tool's doing.
Okay, so what we've done here is brought the base of the finial, and please don't think I'm trying to get too technical. And I'm a wizard. I'm not. I'm just me. I'm just saying what my thought process is. Give you some ideas, even if it's a case of Christ, I wouldn't do that. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I've got this sort of ugly-looking bead. Now I can either attempt to make it a nice bead, or I could actually make it a V shape. So at this stage, you've got to decide what you want to do. And at this moment, I'm not sure. So I'm going to go with a straight cut to the base. Or am I? Yes, I am.
Nice.
Now, back to the skew. Stop it and have a look. Don't know if I want to just go under there. Not making excuses. I normally have a light on here, but you won't be able to see what I'm doing. So I can't see what I'm doing now.
Yeah, you don't want to.
No, definitely not, Pete. Couldn't agree more, mate.
The nice thing about doing this sort of work, whether it's a finial or the stem of a goblet or a candlestick, they're all basically the same, just different sizes.
Yeah.
But if you're just
Now, the
doing a
thing is
one-off,
here,
then you can just play with shapes.
yeah, got a nice crisp edge there as well. So yeah, I didn't know I was going to do that. I played with it, and if it didn't work, it would. In this case, it would mess it up because you'd have too long a stem there. Yeah. So we've got that. So are we happy with that to a point? Now it's at this stage. The beauty of using the sanding is even with that little bit of support there, you can happily sand here to reshape and to make it exactly as you want it. So now you've got to decide on the base where you want the base to start and finish, and that's got to really be in proportion to your finial. Now, to me, that is a little bit wide of a base. So just go to my ordinary spindle gouge. And again, it's just a case of having the bevel at parallel to your spindle, picking up the cut and just moving it to see what sort of diameter you want this to be. Now that is a little bit more than the actual diameter of this part, which I think is always a good thing, personally. Or we could bring it down to virtually the same diameter as that. But I think it should be a little bit bigger, maybe not quite as big as that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Would you agree or disagree, gentlemen?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not asking for praise. I'm just saying what you think of as you're going, and you look at it and try and visualize it on something and say, okay, yeah, that's quite good. I would want to bring that round a little bit, which I would do with sanding, and I would want to bring this little bit in just a bit more of an acute curve, if you like. Not too much, but just get rid of this little bit of bulk here. But that would take literally a couple of minutes, possibly with sanding. That's okay. I'm happy with that. That will sand nicely. I'm happy with the concave bit there. So I'll just get my thin parting tool and then decide on the thickness of the base. So go too big to begin with. Obviously that's too clumpy. So if we go about here, and notice I'm undercutting, and I'll tell you the reason why. Pete mentioned this in one of his videos. The reason I'm undercutting is that whatever, or to a point anyway, whatever radius you have, whether it be a hollow form or whatever you're going to be using, and I'll leave it that thick. And then I'd literally part off here, but I'm not going to do that yet, but that's where I'd part off. Okay, so this is going to be basically the tenon. So it's not going to be that big, obviously, but the reason for undercutting is it doesn't matter what radius you have on your form on the outside circumference. If you have an undercut, 9 times out of 10, that finial will sort of blend into the shape of your hollow form or your box, whatever, the lid of the box. And even if you've got a flat box and you put in that on a flat lid, it doesn't matter because it's undercut, it'll sit nice and seamlessly on the top of the lid. Okay, and the other advantage, of course, is when you're sanding, and this is why we like to do that on goblets as well. If you undercut there and, start to cut your tenon before you cut it off, you can sand underneath as well, and you can get everything just right before you actually part it off. Okay, so that is a basic finial. In my opinion, it's fairly basic. It is basic. There are no. It's quite nice to have, if you can imagine, little discs up here, a couple of those, but then the pointy bit on the end would have to be a bit bigger to accommodate that. And don't forget as well, if you start going a bit too crazy with your detail, your sanding is going to get rid of the crispness unless you're very, very careful. And where I say I do most of it 240 here, if I had ideally this bit here, I would use something like 400, just not to get rid of the edges, and there's a little bulge there, we'll do another one in a minute and do that. So that's basically what I do. Now I leave it on this on the mother piece of wood because I might want to put it back in the chuck, spray it, or I might just want to lacquer it, or I might just want to polish it, whatever. And then I'll put wax on it, sanding sealer wax. I can do everything on that and just put it back in the chuck. Not a problem. So I have quite a few of these lying around which need finishing, but you know. So I think that's it on the first one, unless there's any other questions on that particular thing. Nope.
No question coming up.
No. Everybody's really bored. That's fine.
I think
Okay,
you'll find
so
though, Mike, when we were talking about the undercut, I said it's because I'm such a klutz, it hides my mistakes.
yeah, well, that's basically my technical explanation of exactly that, Pete. Okay, so that was a piece of not very good wood. We'll take another piece of not very good wood and have another go and do something else. Or you want to make a knob as opposed to a finial. Doing finials, as I say, is, in my opinion, it's a great way to get to know your tools, you know. Oh, I tell you what I didn't do. Sorry. Take this out. How long have we been going, lads? Long enough?
Just over an hour.
Oh, that's all right. I'll have another half an hour if that's all right with everybody or whatever. Put it back in. Now you've got to be very lucky to get it in exactly the right place so it doesn't wobble about, which it does.
Norman Green was asking you what the chuck jaws are.
These are, well, they're Axminster jaws. I call them pin jaws, but they're actually, I think they're pen jaws. But, well, I know they're pen jaws, but I like them because you're away from the chuck and gives you loads of room to work. And they're nice and rounded here, so if you do catch, it ain't going to hurt. Better not to catch your hand, mind you, but if you do, it's not going to do too much damage. Yeah, that's fairly good.
Malcolm Douglas has got to go. Cheers, Malcolm.
Cheers, Malcolm. Thanks for coming in, mate. Really appreciate it. Okay, so let's have a look. Oh, it's not too bad. For the demonstration purpose, I think this will be adequate. So going back to my little sizer here. Now, basically, all I've done is ground a 10mm spanner or wrench, as you call it across the pond, and just given it 2 edges there. Okay, they don't have to be lovely facets as long as they're nice cutting edge, because all you're doing there is bringing. Now the other thing is, again, people might disagree, don't go this way because you're quite likely to go that way, and use the bottom edge mainly to do the slicing. Okay, and do it nice and gently. Make sure that both edges are touching. There we go, and we're through. So that is it, and all it needs now is a little bit of cleaning up under here. You could use your skew, you could use what you like, just to clean that up underneath. There you go.
Another little
Tiny
tip there. If you
tiny little bit on the end.
if you take the junction between the tenon and the base, just in 0.5 millimeter or 1 millimeter smaller than the size of the tenon, then if you get any glue squeeze out, it tends to go into there rather than coming out the sides.
Good tip, Pete. Yeah, excellent. Good tip, mate. I knew there was a reason for having you on. Right, so there's your 10mm tenon, and likewise, if you have a 6mm, you want to do 6mm, you can have a 6mm spanner And I got that tip many, many, many years ago off good old Captain Eddie Castlin, believe it or not. But there you go. So, are we going to do another one, or what do you feel?
Do us a quick finial.
A finiob.
Yeah.
Okay. What, like that teardrop one?
Yeah, a functional one.
Okay.
So it,
So we don't want much wood for that. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly square, because you're only talking about a little bit of wood.
down from
Will
True
do.
Grit has been out, done 2 days work, and he's now back.
Okay, so what I've got to do is a peeling cut now to get this, because it's a small bit of wood, I don't need support. So just a peeling cut to get it down the round. Doing this reminds me, I can't remember where we were. We're probably not on still. Wayne was doing with myself, with Glyn, we're doing a demo, I think it was at Maker Central. Anyway, and we decided, or Wayne decided, he was going to rough this, and he was roughing it down like I did in the beginning, like this, you see. So I said, nah, you don't need to do that. All you got to do is peeling cuts like this. And I did it. It went flying and nearly hit Joe in the head. So I wasn't popular.
That wasn't the famous Coventry flying goblet then.
No. This was in Maker Central.
No, Mike's made things fly all over the country.
Okay, so we've got it. Am I going to use the skew? Nah, I'll use my spindle gouge. Don't see why I should use the skew, just to prove that I can use it. Okay, so what sort of size, Pete? Sort of there?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was a
so you
water
want a
dropper type.
functional knob. Again, depends on the size of the piece, but it's the same. It's the same basic idea.
Downstairs, I found some photos from UKIS 2017 the other day,
Oh,
and this is the bank account if you don't want them published.
see, I've got this problem, even doing a knob, where I like this sort of shape.
Yeah, I do as well.
Basically, the base
So
of
it's
a
sort of
cobbler, I
water
suppose.
droplet, isn't it?
Yeah.
That 30-degree spindle gauge, if anybody out there hasn't got one, when your gauge gets sort of worn out, it's almost gone. But you need to replace it. Start playing with the angles. Get yourself a 30-degree grind on it, and then take the back off until you've got about 1.5 mil of bevel left. And for this sort of work, that is a great tool to have. It's
Dan's being rude to me. Being horrible. He's being a bully.
Nobody noticed I got a catch.
Though we noticed.
captured it. We're going to slow it down and put it out everywhere.
Don't worry about it, Mike. Colin was doing a barstool thing the other day. Had 4 catches.
Who was?
Colin
Oh, right. Okay.
on YouTube.
Happens to all of us,
Oh, yeah.
especially when you're trying to do this multitasking thing and talking to people at the same time as cutting. Anthony Green said, "Hi guys, slap in the middle of making a chopping board. What tool would you use to do the rim juice collector?"
Router.
Yeah, it all depends on the shape of the chopping board, what style you're doing, what I would use. And because I'm quite lazy, also what's nearest my hand.
I mean, if it's a round chopping board and you're doing it on a lathe, then spindle gouge or round nose scraper. But if it's a square chopping board, use a router.
Yeah.
Now the beauty of this is, if you don't like that shape, you carry on around there. You've got a little spinning top, so it has several uses. Well, you know, there is a maybe not traditional, but nevertheless a knob.
Viviana is asking, do you have to sharpen the wrench? Yes, you do. Just the bottom edge of it. I've never had a problem with the top edge because all of my wrenches have got a slight radius on the edge. But you don't want that top edge to be sharp because you don't want it to catch. And just put a little. I use, I think, about 70 or 80 degree, just to sharpen up that bottom edge.
Yeah, I've never looked at mine to see what it is actually, Pete.
No, it's. I'm looking at one in front of me. I think it's 70 degrees, that one. But to be honest,
this one. That's about the
yeah,
same, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just this bit here. I just touched that up on the grinder. I mean that I did that one as well, just because sometimes when you're doing it, but it was like, I don't know if you agree, Pete. Don't do it this way. Always have the leading edge, the longer edge on top, and you can actually use both, as I'll do here, because that's virtually what we need. Don't have the lathe too high. Oh, that's it.
Copperara's just joined us as well. Good afternoon.
And once it goes over it, there's your 10 mil. So that's
effectively as a
done.
cutting scraper with a sizing guide is what that becomes.
Yes, yeah, basically. Because you can actually get parting tools, can't you, with a
Yeah,
the big arm on the top and everything. But
size,
you just, instead of using calipers, you make decide what radius you want your tenon, and you set this gizmo that's attached to your parting tool, and that's how you do it. But it's just as easy, I think, to use a. So that's another one. Oh, just to, I suppose I could show you very quickly, if you wanted to make that sort of faux ebony, if you like. Oh, very quickly, just get a bit of the old sanding sealer. I haven't sanded this up, obviously, but a bit of sanding sealer just to seal the wood. Just give that a couple of seconds. And the 4 people that are left are going to actually see my white colouring, albeit black. Just let that dry, and I'll just show you
53
how.
people watching now, so
I'm most impressed, and I'm very grateful to all of you for turning up. As I say, it was. I'm going to put the lads on now because I know how to work this StreamYard thing. There we go. Look, there's the lads as well, and me on the face.
Mark, you're on camera.
There we go. Yeah, you're on camera, Mark. Stop scratching your nether regions. It's. I must be honest. I'm more impressed with. I'm impressed with StreamYard. Much more impressed than I was with Skype. Why you didn't tell me about it earlier, lads, I don't know. I
We
just
did
can't. I can
years
never
ago.
forgive you. I
and
can
you
never
went
forgive you
poo-poo.
for that. No. It'd be
That's
Stream
another
StreamYard.
thing you never
No,
forgive us for.
honestly.
Sorry, you are?
That's another thing you never forgive us for. The list is growing.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge, this list.
We
And
forgot our shirts
again,
today as well. Pete.
I think most people use StreamYard, don't they, for this sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot less fiddly once
It's
you've got
quick
in.
and easy.
Once you've done it, and I presume I won't have to. I'll just log in with my thing and do it again. Same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just create a
None of
broadcast
this
each time.
none of this NDI necessary and all the rest of it. The only problem is, as you say, it's only in 720.
You can pay for a StreamYard Pro, which goes out in 1080.
And how
It's
much
like
is that?
300 quid a year. 300 quid a year.
I shall carry on at 720 for the amount of lives that I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And does it automatically? I'm talking with everybody else. We'll have a quick chat when we finish the stream.
We'll chat afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have a little chat afterwards. Right, we'll go back to this, and I know you've all done this in with much greater success than I. I shall use this gloss lacquer from Hampshire Sheen. That one there.
Mike's doing colouring. Drum roll,
Oh,
please.
that one. Yeah, that one there. That's clear gloss lacquer. And I have to be honest, that's the one I normally use. I have used, which is the
Chestnut.
what they called chestnut.
Chestnut ebonising lacquer.
Yeah,
Thanks, Buster.
that's what I've used. But I tried this gloss lacquer and this one from Marty. It's nice. Now, what I do, not being a colorist, I have the lathe spinning, and the other thing to do is just to denib your sanding sealer. And the other thing to make sure is that you have little or no dust, because it will attract it like flies to fly paper. So I haven't cleaned anything up here, but just to give you an idea. A note, I have no safety net. I have nothing, nothing actually. Oh,
Yeah. That's
what's
lacquer.
that say? What's that say?
Clear.
Clear gloss lacquer. Okay, so on this one, we're going to use a clear gloss lacquer. Actually, this will be a test when that's actually dried, which will be a little while, a couple of minutes. We can have a chat. I'll stick it on a bit. We'll put some black gloss lacquer on top of it. Okay, as you can tell, I am a world-renowned colorist, an idiot. But there you go. Yeah, the thing with the Hampshire Sheen gloss lacquer, black lacquer, it looks like clear lacquer. When you put it on your piece, it doesn't hide any of the grain and it doesn't go black, and that's its characteristic when I'm using it. So, yes. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I certainly have. As you know, I like the sound of my own voice. It was purely and simply an ad hoc situation. But as it was quite rightly pointed out to me, I don't have to do things on a Sunday night because that's in my brain. I've always done them on a Sunday night. So what I will probably do is maybe every couple of 3 weeks do one on an evening in the weekday. And unfortunately,
just be relaxed.
Sorry.
You don't have to make it a formal time. Just be more relaxed with it.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, everybody. There are only 7 nights of a week and 7 lunchtimes of a week, so you've got to be not stepping on somebody's toes, but you're going to be going at the same time as somebody else. And I haven't got a problem with that, and I hope anybody that I clash with hasn't got a problem with it, because the internet has got plenty of room for everybody, and quite often I've done it myself. You'll switch between 1 or 2 at the same time, so it's not a problem. So never worry. If you want to do live stream and you think, oh, I'm going to clash with so and so, don't worry about that. Just do it and address the fallout when it happens. because 9 times out of 10 there won't be any fight. In the beginning, it was different because everybody felt that my slot's my slot, which is nice. And you, out of courtesy, you'll contact that person and say, look, I've got a thing. You're going at 7 o'clock. Is it okay if I do mine starting at 8 or something? And I never had
Yeah,
a
but there's
problem with
just
that.
so many out there. You can't do that all the time for everybody. You're going to clash
No.
at some point.
It's impossible. Okay, that sanding sealer has now. This is a class act. It's a shame that there aren't some more international colorists here to take some note of what I'm doing. Okay,
Stuart
maybe.
Sweeney's watching. Don't you worry, he's watching.
All right, and I reiterate, I haven't sanded this at all. But one thing with any aerosol that you use, always shake it well for a minute or two. And a little test piece on there, and about 8 inches. And let's just have it going around that sort of speed. And just leave that to dry. And when it's dry, you could lightly cut it back with a very fine abrasive or Scotch pad or something if you wish, and then apply another coat. And you can apply as many coats as you like. But you can see, I mean, I've missed bits there. I don't worry about that, because if you try and fill those in after you've got that, with me anyway, you tend to get runs. So it's best to leave your first coat like that. I didn't want to point it towards the lathe for obvious reasons. But we just leave that for a second. We've got a little chat, maybe.
Of course, if you're
any
doing
questions?
this for real, you wouldn't want to get any lacquer on the tenon.
No, and if you
But
do, sand it off.
Mike is not allowed to use masking tape on his channel anymore because they put a cease and desist on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do it for real, try to avoid putting anything on that tenon because you're going to obviously want to glue that later on.
Masking tape. I've got loads.
Their solicitors are already twitching.
I don't know. Yeah, I've got 4 or 5 rolls, and I use it off just ad infinitum. As is
I'm
my
allowed to use
wont.
it in public.
No. I wish you hadn't said that, Mark. Okay. Any solicitors watching, please watch this. Are we ready? Are we ready? Ready?
Yeah, turn the lathe off first, you fool.
Right, let's turn the lathe off, like so. Okay. Here we go. Look at that. Look. Absolutely superb. And that's now covered my jaws, so I don't get any ebonizing lacquer on them. See,
Dear Mr. Walt, despite our previous warnings, we note that you have been using.
Yeah, despite our numerous warnings, you totally disregard everything we say. So,
Viviana says, what sanding polish do you use? They use Triple E Ultra Shine. Is that okay? Triple E Ultra Shine is a good product, but there are others that are slightly better. So you've got True Grit, Yorkshire Grit, Pax, just to be across the board. So in mentioning all of them,
yeah, but True Grit,
polish.
Yeah.
The problem with the
it does
Triple E
depend
one
on where
is
you are.
it's very, very filled with chemicals. So you've got to use an open workshop because the fumes from the Triple E Ultra Shine will knock you out.
Or you'll trip. You start tripping with it.
You'll start. Yeah, you'll get high basically.
Viviana's in Peru, so
Peru
probably hasn't got access to some of the products we use.
Okay. See, this is where it comes in handy. So use a little bit there. That. Put your paper towel, or you can't see what I'm doing. And zoom out, so you can see what I'm doing. Masking tape.
Is that it again?
Bit of paper towel, and just stick it there. And that will stop any spray as I go in at this direction. Again, slow it down a bit. And that's covered that. So let that dry. And basically all I'm saying is you can make it look faux ebony if you wish. You can have it matte, you can have it satin, you can have it whatever you like.
Go purple if you want it to. No rules.
Yeah, well, you could colour it. You could actually put a colour on it, but I don't advocate that, of course. But it is possible.
There's a reason why you don't see many coloured finials.
Because they don't look nice.
Because they don't look right.
They don't.
No. And
although I have seen a couple that have been Stuart Farini class of colour. Different league.
Yes. Yeah. And Brian. Let's not forget Brian.
Yeah, Brian's pretty good at these colour things as well.
He's really good. But no, I mean, yeah, obviously you can colour them. No, I'm not a colourist. I do enjoy messing around. When I got the airbrush out the other day, I really had a good, good enjoyment with it. But I haven't got the technique because I spend no time at it. It's practice. But anything I do that turns out half good is pure luck. Pure luck. And Martin, of course, we always forget Martin. Martin is a dab hand at his colouring.
He's actually a world-class colourist.
He certainly is. Yes. I mean, he will do demos, public demos with colouring involved, and it comes out looking like he spent days on it, So yeah, horses for courses. Okay, guys, I think I've bored you long enough. I'd like to honestly say a huge, genuine thank you to everybody that turned up. I really do appreciate it. I didn't expect to have many at all. You've just had time to kill. That's good. And I'm very honoured to have been part of your time killing. So with that, I'll say till the next time, which hopefully won't be too long. And I don't know when it'll be, but it'll be in the week, I would imagine, at some stage in some weeks to follow. And thanks to my earworms, to Pete of Twisted Trees and Mark Beckett, the Gentleman Woodturner, in brackets RPT. And all the best to everybody, and I'll see you soon. Cheers now. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye, everyone. You have to press the end live button twice.
There we go.